everybody, welcome to today's video. My name is McKenna Blanthorne and I'm so excited that you've joined us today. Today we're going to be using some vinyl sheets to customize this fun boho lamp, and it's going to be a super fun project, so let's go ahead and get into talking about the materials we're going to be using today. Alright, so this project will depend on the design that you pick. For the design that I'm using, I'm going to be using 4 different colors of vinyl, and I'm using these vinyl sheets. If you want to use just a roll of vinyl, you can, but it's totally optional, whatever you like best. So 4 different colors for my design that I'm using today. Then I'm going to have some transfer tape. I like Aura tape, that's my favorite. And then also I'm using a lamp today. Like I said, this lamp has a really fun glass base, so when I saw it, I thought that it was going to be the perfect blank for a really fun, colorful, springy summer project. And then also we're going to be using a hook tool and then also a tape measure, like a sewing tape measure. And then lastly, just a silhouette scraper tool. So those are the materials that you're going to be using today. It's pretty minimal as far as extra materials go, what you're going to be using for this project, but it is a little bit more advanced in the technique. So speaking of that, let's go ahead and hop into the software. Here we are in the Silhouette software. You can see that I'm using the business edition. If you're using a downgraded version of the Silhouette software, like the basic edition, which is what's free for everybody, you might not see all of these tools on the sides, but you can purchase the business edition for a one-time upgraded fee. But that might be why you see some different tools on mine than yours. But I'm just going to go ahead and go into my library and grab the design I'm going to be using today. And I'm going to be using these retro shapes right here. The design ID is 2881. So I'm just going to double click this to open it in my software. And then it comes in rather large, and I kind of want it to be smaller tiled pieces on my lamp. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom out and then drag it to the side. And what we're going to do before we actually start cutting or anything is we are going to be designing our lamp. So I'm going to go ahead and use my tape measure to see the diameter of my lamp that I'm going to be covering today. And you can see that mine kind of like tapers up here at the top. I'm just going to be covering the part of my lamp that's just this cylinder part. So once it starts tapering, it's not going to be covered, it's just going to be left blank. But I am going to go all the way down to the bottom. So I'm just going to take my tape measure and then wrap it around the middle. And it looks like this is exactly 16 inches. Turn it so you guys can see it. So that is the size that I need to make my full design today, and my vinyl sheets are only 12 inches, so I am going to be using 2 different vinyl sheets for this project. So now that I have my measurement, well, the width, I guess I need to measure the height as well. So I'm going to do it, let's say 8 inches. And like I said, I just want to do it where it stays flat before it starts to curve. So I'm going to go back into my Silhouette software and start designing now. So I need to pick which color I want each of these shapes to start out with. So I'm just going to open my fill panel right here, which is, it looks like a little artist palette. And I'm just going to use my preset colors to match the colors that I purchased. You can use this custom color picker down here to make them more exact, but I don't need them to be exact. I just need like a yellow color, a pink color, a blue color, and a white color. So I'm going to make my circle white, and then I'm going to make this kind of teardrop shape. I'll make that one my pink. And then this rounded rectangle square thing, I'm going to make like that yellow goldenrod color. And then the other one, I'm going to make my blue. All right, so now that we have duplicated, or now that we've colored these pieces, we're going to start to duplicate them to create our pattern that's going to go on our lamp. So I want to open up my library real quick because I love the inspiration picture for these retro shapes. So this is my 4 pieces right here, but then it kind of duplicates just 3 of them and flips it. So I just want to make sure that we are getting kind of a variation. You can see that like this one is just all freehand. They did it however they wanted. So I'm just going to open up my design And then I'm going to grab my circle and line it up right here. And then I'm going to do the same thing up here on top of that circle. And so this is kind of my skeleton for my project. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to duplicate and rotate and everything to kind of get a fun, varied vibe to it. So I like that. That's just the mirrored version. We can do that again right here. And you can do it, just rotate it partially instead of rotating it the whole way. Basically, I just don't want it to be exactly the same in rows or anything. So we're going to go ahead and rotate this one. And if you hold down your shift key when you're rotating, it will lock to a 90-degree angle. All right, and then let's go ahead and grab this one right here. So we're just kind of building a puzzle however we want at this point. And since it is a square, like I said, you can rotate it however you want and it fits. So I love how this is looking so far. Now let's just go ahead and kind of fill in the ending, the last pieces. And then lastly, we're going to, let's add a blue one right here. And then let's add one more white circle. Okay, so the last thing that we need to do is we just need to line up our rows and our columns. So I'm just going to select each row at a time and then line them up from the top, all of our pieces. And then I'm just going to repeat that with all of these steps, or all of these rows. Okay, and now I'm just going to spread these out evenly as well. So I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to use this tool to space them horizontally equally. And I'm just going to do that. I think I can actually do it all at once. Oh, nope, I can't. I got to do it row by row. That's okay. Before we do that, let's do our columns, line them up. So we're going to line them all up to the left. So we're going to do the same thing we did with the rows and just line them all up to the left. Okay, and actually once we've done that, we don't really need to space them because it's very even now. So what we're going to do next is we're going to group this whole design together by drawing a rectangle over the top and then right-clicking and selecting group. And we're just going to size it to our lamp. So like I said, our whole space for our lamp is 16 inches around, so that's going to be our width. So I'm just going to make that 16 inches. And then that makes our height 12.8, which we only want it to be 8 inches. So we need to make some adjustments here. So rather than just squishing this down to 8 inches, I don't want to distort my shapes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add another, I'm going to kind of duplicate this, and then we'll be able to make that 8 inches. So there's going to be a few more shapes instead. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure those are lined up from the top. And then I'm going to go ahead and ungroup these things by drawing a rectangle over the two. And then, or actually before I do that, I'm going to make them both 8 inches tall, because that's our max height that we wanted. And then we're just going to put these next to each other. And then as we can see, the two of these together are 21 inches around. So we just need to take off rows until we're at 16 inches around. So I'm going to take off 4 rows to start. And then I'm just going to draw a rectangle over all of it, and it's 15.99, so it's extremely close to what we need. So that's perfect. So now I'm just going to go ahead and click off to the side, and we are just going to group our different colors together now. So I'm going to start with my white ones, and I'm just going to select all my white circles. And I'm just holding down Shift as I click on all of these, and then I'm going to right click and select group. Now I'm going to do my teardrop shape. Same thing. Now let's do our blue. And then lastly, our yellow. All right, and then just so I have a reference, I'm just gonna duplicate the entire design and pull it off to the side before I start breaking this apart. So now I'm just going to I'm actually going to drag this to the side, and we need to make this so it will fit on our 12-inch sheet, because you can see right now we can't fit 4 of the rows on it. So in order to do that, we are just going to actually ungroup this. I'm sorry guys, I should have thought of this before. So I'm just going to right click and ungroup. And then I'm going to move these 4 rows to the side. And now I'm going to group my colors. So my first white cut is going to be right here. And then I'm going to pull those to the side. I think I accidentally duplicated that white one, so we don't need that one. And then I'm going to do my pink ones, pull them to the side, and just repeat the process with all of my other cuts. All right guys, so now we have all of our cuts. So let's go ahead and just start cutting. And so let's go ahead and start with our blue. So I'm just going to drag this these blue pieces over onto my mat, and then I'm just going to come up here to the send panel and get my send panel ready to send it to cut. So up here I'm just going to select the vinyl that I'm using. I am using smooth vinyl, or sorry, glossy vinyl, and I like to cut my vinyl on a 2. And then we just need to load our media. So our machine's connected. I'm just going to open up the Cameo 4, and then I'm going to load my first blue sheet into the Cameo 4 by lining up the edge of my vinyl with this gray line and arrow. I'm actually going to move this little roller down. I'm just going to press the lock button and have it click into that first little notch on this side, or sorry, the second notch in, and that's going to hold my vinyl in place while I'm cutting it matless. This vinyl has a backing, so it can be cut matless, even in sheets. And then I'm just going to press this upward arrow button until it starts blinking, and then hold my vinyl and feed it with both hands. It just fed through nice and smooth, and so now back in the send panel, all I need to do is come down here to the bottom and press send. Do you want me to stop my screen share? Okay.
Until you're done. That works, this angle. It's pretty good for my shot.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay guys, so the machine just finished cutting, so I'm gonna wait for it to unload, and then there's not really anything for me to pull away in these cuts, but I'm just gonna go ahead and use my hook tool to make sure that the vinyl cut, and it did. So I'm just gonna unload, and now we're gonna load our next blue piece to do that little remainder portion, since we can't fit it all on the 12 by 12 sheet. So back in my software, I'm gonna go back to my design tab, and I'm just going to delete this piece since I have it duplicated off my artboard over here. And then I'm just going to add this blue piece. And now I'm just gonna send that. And while these are cutting, I'm gonna be cutting down my excess vinyl so that I can save it for my next project as well. And all of this vinyl is the exact same type of vinyl. It's Oracal 651 in sheets. So I don't need to check every cut. As long as the first one cut good, I don't need to worry about the rest of them. And I do think it is going to be important in this project to keep them in the orientation that we cut them in, so that we will be able to line them up when the time comes. So I'm just going to put them behind the machine over here, and then move on to cut my next color. All right guys, so we have our pieces all weeded now, and now we are going to start assembling. So I'm just going to drag these to the side a little bit. And I think it's going to be easiest actually if we assemble from the bottom to the top. So starting out with the yellow piece, because that is the very most kind of left corner of it. So I'm going to start out with my main yellow piece, and I'm going to assemble all 4 of my big pieces, and then I'm going to assemble all 4 of my smaller pieces as we go. I think that'll be the easiest way to put it all together. So I'm just going to cut an even line for my transfer tape, since we are going to be using like the whole width of it. And then it just needs to be about 8 inches high, since that is our design. I'm just going to lay it on top, and we can reuse our transfer tape too. So we're going to reuse it as many times as we can until it's not sticky anymore. So now I'm just going to fold my transfer tape. I'm going to fold the corner of it and then start to pull away my backing. And on big pieces it can be a little tricky, but I'm just going to place that down in the corner, kind of close to it, and stick that down really nice, and then as I pull away, everything should lay nice and flat, as long as I can get this side to cooperate as well. I'm going to fold this corner too and start pulling from this side as well. And this is just because this is a big piece of transfer tape that has been rolled up, so it wants to curl as well. There we go. So now that we have our initial piece, our initial corner and everything nice and smooth, now we're just going to pull this. And just go slow. If it seems like it's going to be easier for you to cut your transfer tape in 2 pieces, you can do that also to cover your design. But like I said, it's really just because this was rolled that it's giving us a little bit of resistance. gonna pull the rest of the tape backing off. Okay. Now I'm just going to take my scraper tool, go over the top of it, get my vinyl to stick to it. And like I said, this is what we're going to be lining up on our lamp. And I'm going to put the bottom corner right next to my little circle plug right here, and just as close as I can, and that is going to be kind of our marker for our design. And I'm also going to just set my scissors right there to keep my lamp in place from rolling. If you're using a square lamp base, you don't have that issue. Now I'm just going to flip it over and pull my backing away from my transfer tape. I'm just going to use this screwdriver just to keep everything from rolling. And now I'm just going to line up that bottom corner, like I said, with the little lamp plug thing. And like I said, I made this pretty much 8 inches exactly. Well, I did make it 8 inches exactly. So I'm going to line it up as close to the bottom as I can get as well. And I just start out by placing my first piece, and then I just slowly stick it as we go. You will find that sometimes circular pieces can be tricky when it comes to laying your vinyl down. But as long as you go slow and take it piece by piece, you'll be fine. And then I'm just going to peel off my transfer tape. And so this one did overhang a little bit, probably just because I didn't get it on exactly straight. But that's okay. We're just going to maybe make some adjustments at the very end. So now we're going to do our white piece. A little white circle goes right above this one. And I'm just going to make sure that this is the right piece, going the right way. Yep. And I'm just going to take my transfer tape, the same piece, and just lay it right on top. And then take my scraper. And then I didn't line these up exactly, like with a triangle or square or anything. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. And we know that this white piece goes kind of right in between these yellow squares. So I'm just going to place that white piece to start out. And then place the rest of my pieces. This is going to need some adjusting at the end. Oh dear. I'm going to adjust some of these real quick. Okay, and now just to place that first one, I'm gonna place these objects. I'm actually going to line this blue one up with the top now instead of just that one, since the top is available now. Okay. Perfect. And we're gonna just go nice and slow, lay them as you go. Oh, this one's working good. Wow, I don't have to change any of those ones. Sweet. Okay. Nope, that's not the right side. Here we go. All right, guys, so we just finished laying our pink down for our first pieces of vinyl. So now we just need to finish the remainder. I love how this is looking. Honestly, it's coming out even better than I thought it was going to. It's super fun, super colorful and cute, and it's just gonna add so much character in any room that you are gonna put it in. I think we're gonna use it here in our studio, which is gonna be super fun. So now we are going to repeat the same process with these smaller pieces, and I have good news. You get to cut your transfer tape, because using this big piece of transfer tape is kind of hard. So for the last 4 lines, it's going to be the same thing, but we're going to go kind of backwards. So we're going to start at this side of our outlet plug and then move our way around this way. So it's going to be our white piece on the bottom. And I have my laptop pulled up here as a reference to know which pieces go where. So I'm just going to lay this down first, and then I'm going to cut it just to make sure that I didn't cut it too small. And I'm not going to save this piece of transfer tape just because I've used it quite a few times. So. And then this is going to be kind of backwards feeling for me because I feel like I always lay all my vinyl down the opposite way. And you know what, we actually might have to do this the opposite way because I think we're going to have to cut around this piece right here. So let's start out with our piece. Well, we're going to have to place this white one, but we're not going to use this as our reference point because I think we're going to have to cut our last piece of vinyl to fit over the top of that. So this circle needs to line up with this blue piece right here. So that's what we're going to do. And then as you can see, it overlaps a tiny bit. So we're probably going to end up moving this last row over a little bit in the end. Just going to peel these off. And that's just to account for this cord and also putting things on exactly straight as we've gone. All right, guys. So I just finished applying all of my vinyl, but you can see that I do have kind of this hole right here. So I'm just going to take some scissors and just kind of cut around the hole. If you wanted it to be exact, you could use like a X-Acto knife or a box cutter or something. But I'm not too worried about it since it's the back of the lamp anyway. I'm just going to pull it up and trim it. And then I'm just going to kind of push it in with my fingernail right up against the piece. And then here is our finished lamp. Honestly, you guys, it turned out even better than I expected it to. So let's go ahead and pop the lampshade on to see just how it looks all put together. Awesome, guys, here is our final project. I love how it turned out. It doesn't have a light bulb in it yet, but I'm super excited to put a light bulb in it and just use it in our super fun studio. And I'd love to see you guys' lamps that you make, and you can decorate it any way you want. You can use these shapes as inspiration, or you can use a totally different design, but make sure to tag us at silhouette.inc on Instagram so we can see your project, and subscribe to this channel so you can see all of our awesome videos coming up as well. Thanks so much for joining us, and have an awesome time crafting.